Good morning, Kingsley community. Pastor Colleen Weirman here, coming to you with another daily devotion for Monday. It's Monday, January 25th, 2021. And again, following 40 Days of Community by Pastor Rick Warren. We are in the theme, we're called to serve together. Okay, so this is a new theme. And I just want to look a little bit about why serving is so important. So I want to get to the serving portion. We're called to serve together by being willing to serve. Okay, so as one of the parts of the faith walk or the faith journey is to not only fellowship together, but also worship together and also serve together and each other. So our scripture reading comes from Galatians 5:13. Apostle Paul writes to the church in Galatia, "You, my brothers, were called to be free, but do not use your freedom to indulge the sinful nature. Rather, serve one another in love." In love. So if you're serving each other out of obligation, if you're serving each other because that's what you've done for the last 20 years and it's just become a burden, you might want to go back and have a heart check with Jesus, because just like the book of James says, faith without works is dead. Now, we don't work for our faith. We don't work for our salvation. That is a free gift from God because of his grace. But we, out of that faith and that gift that God has given us, we serve. We serve the church. We serve one another. We serve those in need. So if you're not serving and you're just going to church or watching it on TV and to get, your spiritual walk will be incomplete, because as the prophet Jeremiah says, his gift was to preach because he's a prophet. And he says, if I don't, it's like a burning fire in me. I just got to let it out. So whatever your gift is, and again, we've talked about spiritual gifts. Don't keep using the excuse of, I don't know what my gift is. Ask a close friend. Ask someone who knows you really well. Say, what do you think I'm good at? And more than likely, if you start going down that path of what you're good at, whether it's visiting the elderly, shut-ins, working with kids, preaching, being part of the worship service by greeting, whatever it is, cleaning, maybe you're a behind-the-scenes person, all you want to do is clean toilets. I love to clean toilets. I do, and I'm good at it. You could eat off my toilet. Now, folding laundry, doing laundry, hate it, but I do it. So you need to work at trying to figure out what your gift is. If you don't know, don't just keep saying, I don't know. Just start getting your hands involved in something with your faith community until God shows you the path that you're supposed to be going on. And you'll know when it is a God-given gift. You'll know it, you'll feel it, and you'll be like, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So the writer's right, we are saved by faith and grace to serve each other. Many people have the misconception that being called by God is something that only missionaries, pastors, nuns, and other church leaders experience. But the Bible says that everyone is called to serve God by serving others. We are not saved by serving, but we are saved for serving. Today's verse gives us 3 insights about serving God by serving each other. First, the basis of serving others is salvation. Paul says you are called to be free. You cannot serve God until you are set free by Jesus Christ. You can try, but it's just going to become a burden. And then you're going to be like, why am I doing this? I get no recognition. I don't get any blessings. So if you're serving to get something, you might want to have a come to Jesus meeting again. So the only way you can truly serve one another, serve those in need, because there's lots of philanthropists in the world, but that doesn't mean they're working for Christ. They're working for themselves, their reputation, or to try to find a place where they feel good. When you end up serving out of the faith that you've received from God, because it is a command, it's freeing. It's a little easier than trying to be a philanthropist. But then it's also a sacrifice. So you'll have to give up something. Time, money, talents, Facebook. Until you experience the transforming power of God's grace in your life, you're too enslaved to your own habits, hurts, and hang-ups to think much about others. Without the freedom of forgiveness, you'll end up serving for the wrong reasons, trying to earn the approval of others, trying to want to run away from your pain, trying to remedy your guilt, trying to impress God. Service that's motivated by illegitimate reasons is bound to leave you burned out and bitter in the end. Second, the barrier to serving others is selfishness. Paul writes or warns, do not use your freedom to indulge the sinful nature. The number one reason we don't have the time or energy to serve others is because we're preoccupied with our own agenda, our own dreams, and our own pleasures. The number one reason we do not have the time or energy to serve others is because we're preoccupied with our own agendas, dreams, and pleasures. I had to read that twice because it's so true. In the late 1960s, the hippie movement swept through San Francisco and then the nation. Hippies were mostly college-age young adults who rebelled against authority and flaunted their freedom by indulging in free sex and free drugs. They slept in Golden Gate Park and panhandled instead of getting jobs. They proudly labeled themselves the counterculture. Yet they did exactly what most people in our culture do. They indulged in themselves. Even today, television commercials scream, obey your thirst, have it your way, do what's best for you, look out for number one. Most of the time, we're more interested in serve us than serve is. Yet, it is in serving others that we adopt a true countercultural lifestyle. It is far more radical to look out for someone else's needs than it is to look out for yourself. Only a small minority of people use their lives to serve others. But Jesus said, if you insist on saving your life, you will lose it. Only those who throw away their lives for my sake and for the sake of the good news will ever know what it really means to live. Third, Paul writes, the motive for serving is love. He says, serve one another in love. It is an important key to building community. Without love, service doesn't count in God's eyes. So if you're doing it to say, I need volunteer hours on my in my belt because my scholarships for college need volunteer hours, so I got to hurry up and find a way to serve. Okay, so all you seniors in high school right now, if that's where you're at, it's okay. Go ahead and serve, but do it from the gift and love of God. And then you might even be able to find out where you want to go. You might have one thought of where you want to be and who you want to be, and down the road, God shows you something different just by serving Him. But do it out of love. Without love, service doesn't count. Oh, I said that in God's eyes. 1 Corinthians 13:3 says, no matter what I say, what I believe, and what I do, I'm bankrupt without love. That's the Apostle Paul in the love chapter, 1 Corinthians 13. God is far more interested in why you serve others than He is interested in how well you serve them. He's always looking at your heart. This week, we'll look at 6 more one another's, particular practical ways your small group can serve each other and the rest of your church family. But today is the time to prepare your hearts for these lessons. Don't view serving others as an obligation or duty. Serve willingly and eagerly out of love for Jesus and gratitude for all that He's done for you. Then remember that service on earth is practice for eternity, and you are most like Jesus when you're serving others. After washing the disciples' feet, we know that Jesus said, I have given you an example to follow. Do as I have done to you. Serve one another. So our key verse is Romans 15:2. Each of us needs to look after the good of the people around us, asking ourselves, how can I help? Question to ponder: how will you serve someone in your community, church, or small group today? So, serving. So we grow in serving. We're connected to grow together. Oops, I'm sorry. I went back a page. We're called to serve together. That's our new theme, by being willing to serve. And so willing to serve means that we, number one, have accepted Christ in our hearts, and out of that love, we serve. Number two, we're available, and we serve each other, not in quantity. If you want to do it so you can get your name out there, so you can make your business more well-known, Jesus said, don't count. He knows your heart, so do it out of the love of others and helping others, and do it out of the love that you've received. So service is key. I was just having a conversation with some leaders at my church that we used to have this 80-20 rule, and everybody knows the 80-20 rule. 20% of the people do 80% of the work. Through COVID and through just different things that the church has gone through, all churches, not just my church, but all churches, it seems like to me, and I don't know if this is statistically correct, I'd have to check with the Barna Group, Pew Research, but it seems like it's the 95-5 rule. 5% of the people are now doing 95% of the work. Your spiritual walk with Christ includes service. Jesus washed his disciples' feet. He took on the job of a slave, the lowest of low jobs. And he says, do what I have just shown you to do. Serve one another out of love. He did it out of the love he had for the disciples. So, 1, got to know Christ in your heart. 2, you serve because God has shown us how to serve and how to love. And number 3, you do it out of the love that you've received for Christ. Don't do it out of duty or obligation. But I can tell you, if you know Jesus and you just don't know what else to do, then just, you know what? I would love to have phone calls every day about how I can get involved in the church and how I can serve. A lot of times I have people say, well, you never asked me. Do you know what I do all day long? Do you know? Not that other people don't work, but I'm probably going to forget to say, hey, I had a pastor, a mentor who was excellent at that. She was excellent at it. And she seemed to know the gift that the people had. And she would just go right up to them and say, I see this in you, and I think this might be the place where you need to start praying to God about, and then getting involved. Now, she never just said, just pray to God, because that's the thing. I'm still praying to God about where I can fit in 3 years later. 95-5. 5% of the people in the churches are doing 95% of the work, and I can tell you, they're going to get burned out. So, and why am I saying church? Because that is the place where salvation, you could only receive salvation in and through the church. And I don't mean a building. I'm talking about the church people. You, if you are a believer in Jesus Christ, have heard the message from someone. Maybe you went to a Promise Keepers retreat or revival meeting. That's the church. Maybe you went to a vacation Bible school and heard the gospel and accepted Jesus in your heart, however that happened for you. That's the church. Maybe you were in a small group and you just said to them, you know what? I just don't know Jesus the way you guys do. And they prayed over you and you prayed. That is the church. Maybe someone just shared their story with you about how they lived before they knew God and how they live now. And you said, I want a piece of that. And the Spirit of God moved in you. You ended up going and listening to a service online, and you gave your heart to God. And you said, I'm ready to live for you. That's the church. Paul said people can't know Jesus and the gospel until someone says it. So sometimes, even if you're not a believer, but you get connected into a church and you start serving, salvation will come through that way. It's amazing. God's good that way. So get involved, please. We need help. All churches do. Not just mine, but every church. No matter if it's huge and it looks like they got everybody they need, they don't. I can guarantee you. The more people they serve, the more volunteers that they need. And you need it, because that is in and where you're going to find your gift and use your gift. And you're going to feel God moving in you through you serving one another out of love. It's going to take sacrifice. We're going to have to get off Facebook. We're going to have to give up some of the me, my, mo wants and things that I want. But I can tell you, God will make it work. So ask him where you can serve and ask him to point you in a direction. I hope this was helpful for you today, and I will see you back here tomorrow. Have a good day.